She didn't remember the car ride, didn't remember the injection, only the cold weight of consciousness returning and the breathtaking silence around her. Wyan woke up in luxury, not a basement. The walls were made of glass, rising high above the city skyline, like a floating palace. Soft lights glowed from minimalist fixtures, expensive rungs cushioned her bare feet, and the secret of something clean, lavender and leather, filled the air. She stood slowly, knees trembling. Every instinct told her to run, but where there was no guards, no chains, no unlocked door, and a kind of dome. It shimmered faintly, like a thin layer of glass over every surface. From the outside, no one could see in, not through a scope, not through a drone, not even with satellite eyes. But from the inside, everything was visible: the streets below, the people, the helicopters that flew by without noticing her, like she didn't exist. She was invisible, but not free. The sound of a door unlocking made her spin. Heavy footsteps, calm, measured, and then he entered. Jungkook. Black suit, gloves still on, tattooed hand running through jet black hair, slicked back from his temples, a face too sharp, too clean to belong to someone so dangerous. But the silence that followed him was unmistakable, the kind that meant power, death. He didn't look at her right away, just tossed his coat on a chair and poured himself a glass of something amber. Then finally his eyes met hers. "You are awake." Wyan stepped back. "Who are you?" His jaw flexed. "Doesn't matter. Why am I here?" This time a flick of something passed behind his gaze. Not guilt, not sympathy. "You are here because the world think you are gone," he said simply. Hot breath caught. "You kidnapped me." "No," Jungkook said. "I relocated you." Slight difference. "To where?" "Nowhere you can reach, and nowhere they can find." Ryan stared. There were no cameras, no guards, no visible threats. "You are free to go," he added almost casually. "Technically." She blinked. "What?" He took a slow sip, then leaned back on the counter. "You can move through the whole place. Eat, read, shower, scream if it helps. You wouldn't go far." "Why?" she whispered. Jungkook tilted his head, studying her. "Because for what I have to do, you have to disappear." She didn't cry. She wanted to. At first, when the door closed and Jungkook disappeared, like he had not ripped her from its roots, she wanted to scream and sob and collapse in the middle of that cold marble floor. But then she remembered his voice. "You are free to go, technically. Eat, shower, scream if it helps." So she screamed, not out of pain, not even of rage, but spite. It started in her throat like fire, rising through her chest until her voice echoed off the walls, bouncing through the vast glass place he called a penthouse. And when that was not enough, she laughed, loud, sharp, the kind of laugh that made the air shift. Then she threw open the double doors that led to the rooftop deck. She didn't expect it to be beautiful, didn't want to be impressed. The pool glittered under the dome's subtle tint, like liquid, kissed by moonlight. The city stretched far below her, small and unaware. She could see everything, but no one could see her. A luxury cage, but a cage still. She stepped forward, stripped off her oversized sweater, and dove into the water, like it would shake something off her skin. It did not. When she emerged, her hair slicked down her back, lungs burning from the cold. She felt more alive than she had in days, so she climbed out, blasted music from the wall panel loud enough that if the dome had not been soundproof, the whole block would have heard it. And she danced. She danced like someone who had been forgotten, like someone with nothing left to lose, like a girl whose name was only useful to powerful men with violent intentions. Because she knew it now, she was not being held by because they feared her. She was being held because she meant something to someone else, and that someone had never cared enough to tell her why. Probably her father, too busy flying from war room to courtroom to remember he had daughter with a name. Vian was tired of being a pawn, so she danced, twisting barefoot across the polished floors in soaked undergarments, blasting songs that remind her of freedom, of rebellion, of herself. And somewhere in the quiet shadows of a security room, far beneath the penthouse, there he stood. John Jungkook watched, his jaw clenched. His side still throbbed from the last bullet he took 3 nights ago, but he didn't look away because she didn't cry. She did not beg. She screamed and danced, and he did not know why, but it bothered him. Later, in the car, parked in the shadows of an empty garage, engine off, windows down just enough to let the city air crawl in. Jungkook sat in driver's seat, sleeve rolled to his elbows, one hand resting on the gear shift, the other clutching his phone. The screen glowed with single message from his right hand man. Everything's almost wrapped. She can go by evening, just a day, barely 24 hours since Jungkook took her. And yet it felt like the entire rhythm of his life had shifted. His gaze flicked to the tablet on the passenger seat. It streamed live feeds from the penthouse, audio muted as always, to give her privacy, or at least that's what he told himself. He could see everything: the kitchen, the living space, the rooftop pool, and her. Right now, she was in her bedroom wearing one of his shirts. She had no idea it was his, oversized, slipping from her shoulders as she paced around the room barefoot. Headphones in, moving to music only she could hear. She was not sad, was not pacing in fear or begging to be released. She was dancing again, spinning across the hardwood floor with her eyes closed, lost in her own defiance. Water still clung to her legs from the pool. Her hair was wet curtained down her back, and then she reached for the hem of the shirt. Jungkook's breath caught. She did not know she was being watched. He never told her about the cameras. Only then she would not get far. Scream if it helps, but he didn't tell her that she was not alone. Not really. She pulled the shirt up, revealing bare thighs, stomach, the curve of her back, and that was when he killed the screen. The monitor went black with a single key stroke. He ran a hand down his face, jaw tight, teeth clenched. What the hell was happening to him? This was not part of the plan. She was not supposed to get under his skin like this. Was not supposed to haunt his thoughts another night or make his pulse jump by standing barefoot in a room he had not slept in last night. He would brought her there to disappear, not to unravel him, but now she was everywhere, in the corners of his mind, in the scent of his shirts, in the space between logic and impulse. Don't get a jet. That was the rule number one, but rules had never meant much to Jungkook, and she was not just another variable. She was unpredictable, defiant, alive in a world that had tried to make her invisible, and that made her dangerous. So dangerous he could not look away. But for tonight, he shut the screen off just long enough to remember who he was, or who he was supposed to be. Next evening, he was not supposed to come back. The plan was clear: keep her out of sight, monitor from afar, hand her off when the job wrapped, no loose end, no attachment. But Jungkook found himself walking the familiar hall of his penthouse, gloved hand on the doorknob, heartbeat unsteady. The elevator had carried him 75th floor too fast, or maybe not fast enough. The door opened silently. Inside, the lights were dim, music drifted from the speaker system, some soft track she must have found, the kind you play when you don't want to feel alone but can't admit you are lonely. And there she was, Vian, sitting on the kitchen island in one of his another shirts, leg swinging lazily, bottle of his most expensive wine clutched in one hand, an empty glass on the counter that she had clearly given up using for drinking. Her hair was damp, curling at the ends. Her eyes were hazy, glazed, but not enough to miss him standing there. Oh, she said, blinking at him, the phantom returns. Jungkook did not speak, not at first. He just stepped inside, coat still on, boots tracking in the coldness from outside. He should have scolded her, should have taken the wine, reminded her she was being washed. This was not her world, but instead he washed. You know, she slurred lightly, raising the bottle to her lips. This is really good. What is this? Aged dragon tears? He stayed still, silent, dangerous, but his expression had cracked, just slightly, a tightness around his mouth, a flicker in his brow. You should not drink that, he said, eventually. I should have been here either, but here we are, she replied with a lazy smile. Do you always keep kidnap girls in luxury glass boxes, or am I special? You are drunk. She tilted her head, not drunk enough to forget that my father did not even send a text. Not once. I disappear and the wheels just keep spinning. Fingers. Jungkook stepped closer, his voice low, steady. You do not know what's happening behind the scenes. I don't want to know, she snapped, eyes shining now. Whatever game you and my father are playing, he already made it clear I am not a piece that matters. She swirled the wine, nearly spilling it, then down another sip and let out a laugh, a bitter, exhausted sound. You know what's funny? She said, eyes locking onto his. I was scared. Day one, I thought I would be tortured, killed, vanished, but now her lungs swung lower. Now I just feel numb. So I figured, why not enjoy the view before I vanish? JK stood there, watching her unravel, not in weakness but in defiance, and still. He said nothing. I know you are probably not used to people talking this much, she added with a mock solemn nod, but I have been stuck in my head for 2 days, and this wine is making me nostalgic. Do you ever get nostalgic? Jungkook, she paused. His name sounded strange on her lips, like a secret. He finally moved, leaned against the counter beside her, keeping a respectful distance he did not trust himself to break. I do not drink like you. Figures, she squinted at him. You look like the kind who would sit alone at a party and plan everyone present their death. Jungkook let out a soft breath, something between amusement and surrender. I am not good company, he admitted. Vian smiled, eyes glassy now. Tonight you are. They sat in the dim kitchen, nothing between them but silence and wine and the unspoken weight of everything they did not ask for. Told her it was over, that she could go, but instead he stayed, listening to her drunken rants, watched her laugh, watched her nearly cry, and then decide not to. She did not beg for freedom or ask for answer. She just wanted to be heard. And he let her talk because every word she spilled into the quiet night gave him another reason to keep her for just a longer, one more hour, one more night, just to hear her say his name again. Now the silence had stretched between them again, but it was not empty. It pulsed with something warmer, something neither of them had the nerve to name. Jungkook leaned against the kitchen counter, his eyes on her as she took another lazy sip of wine. The bottle was half gone now, and her cheeks were little pinker, her tongue looser, but her eyes, they were not dull, just tired, deep tired. You know what's worse than being kidnapped? She mumbled, voice lighter than her thoughts, realizing no one's coming to you. She laughed softly, bitter. My father's probably already had dinner with whatever politicians you are dealing with. Did you tell him I was okay? Jungkook's jaw clenched. He did not answer. I'm sure he said something dramatic. Do what you need to. Just keep it clean. Wine swilled the last inch of wine in the bottle. Eyes distant. You know, it's almost a relief. At least I know I was never something, yes, someone worth protecting. Her voice broke just slightly at the end. She tried to play it off with a grin. Anyway, thanks for the fancy prison. You are not a prisoner, Jungkook said finally. She looked at him, skeptical. You have got the whole city at your feet, he added. The place, it's safer than anywhere you have ever been. Oh, she teased. You did this with all the girls. You abduct? She asked. No, only you, he said, voice low, serious. That made her blink. Just then, she swayed slightly, balance shifting on the countertop. Jungkook caught her one hand on her waist, and time paused. She looked up at him, wine dazed, yes, but there was something clear behind her gaze, a caution, a challenge, a beat of silence that neither filled. Her hand found the fabric of his shirt and curled into it. Help me to the bed, she murmured, but if you disappear after, I will be pissed. Jungkook did not speak. He did not nod. He just lifted her gently, letting her arms wrap loosely around his neck as he carried her down the hall. She was not heavy. She weighed more than anything he had held in years. In the bedroom, he laid her down carefully. She reached for the covers, but missed. He pulled them up over her instead. He started to turn, leave like he always did, but her fingers brushed his wrist. Stay, the one word that had too much power for someone who did not trust anything, not even herself. But she said it anyway, and he stayed. Not touching, just near, but Payan shifted, curling closer, her hand finding his chest. It had always belonged there. You are warm, you are drunk, and you are bad at good boys, she hummed. He did not answer, could not, and just like that, her breathing slowed, evened out, her lashes stilled against flushed cheeks, lips parted in a quiet pout. He stayed awake long enough after she drifted off. Jungkook rose quietly the next morning. She was still asleep, tangled in his sheets, her mouth forming a faint pout even in sleep. Her hair was messy, her skin warm. She looked peaceful, too peaceful for someone about to told they were free. He stared at her too long, then made his way to the kitchen. Then Jungkook brewed coffee, cracking eggs into a pan and watching them cook even though his thoughts were nowhere near the stove. She padded in 15 minutes later, messy bun, sleepy eyes, his shirt still on. You cooked, she rasped. Hangover cure. Surprised. Ryan blinked, then took the plate. Only after a few soft bites didn't speak. You can leave today. Her fork paused mid-air. Really? She asked. The deal's done, he said. You are safe now. No one's after you now. Right, she said. Then she asked softly, will I see you again? He hesitated. Do you want to? I don't ask questions. I don't want answer to, she said, lips twitching into a weak smile. He stood and walked towards her, his shadow falling over her frame as he tilted her chin up with two fingers. You will see me again. She smiled. A little. Promise? Jungkook leaned in, just close enough that their foreheads brushed. Try not to forget me, he whispered. I dare you. The end.